The family story of the Duke of Penthievre, who was one of the wealthiest people in Europe, and almost certainly the wealthiest in France, during the 18th century, has always been fascinating. His daughter's story was even more so. It all started with the affair of King Louis XIV with his mistress, Madame de Montespan. One of their legitimized sons, Louis Alexandre de Bourbon, received the titles Comte de Toulouse in 1681 and Duc de Penthievre in 1697. His only son was Louis Jean-Marie de Bourbon, Duc de Penthievre. When he was 12, his father died, and the young Louis Jean inherited the titles and wealth from his father and uncles. 5 years later, he married the Princess of Modena, Marie-Thérèse. They had 7 children together, but only 2 survived into adulthood: a son, Louis Alexander, Prince de Lamballe, and a daughter called Louise Marie Adelaide de Bourbon. The prince died when he was 21, and only Marie Adelaide lived to tell her story. A story about betrayal, loss, hard times, and renewed hope. She was born in 1753 in Paris as the daughter of the grandson of Louis XIV. Louise Marie Adelaide de Bourbon grew up in the fabulous Hôtel de Toulouse, one of her father's many properties. Tragically, her mother died 1 year after Marie Adelaide was born, and her care and education were entrusted with a Catholic convent in Montmartre. Her brother, the Prince of Lamballe, died when Marie Adelaide was 15, and so she became the heiress of a vast fortune. Young, beautiful, and extremely wealthy, she became a magnet for prospective suitors. Marie Adelaide's father wanted to merge money and political power by finding her a husband. He did not have to search too far, as his cousin was interested in getting a wife. He would be Louis-Philippe Joseph d'Orléans, Duke of Chartres, from the noble house of Orléans, which was next in the order of succession to the French crown. Happy to know his wife would come with impressive wealth, the Duke of Chartres gladly agreed. At 16, Marie Adelaide married the 22-year-old Duke in a lavish wedding ceremony at the Palace of Versailles, attended by the royal court of Louis XV. After the exuberant first few months of their marriage, the Duchess of Chartres found out who her husband really was, a notorious philanderer. Their marriage would be an unhappy one. At 20, the Duchess had her first son, Louis-Philippe. He would be followed by Louis-Antoine, Françoise, who died when she was 5, Adelaide Louise, and Louis-Charles. One of her husband's many mistresses, Madame de Genlis, was actually put in charge of the education of the couple's children. The Duke was attracted by her intelligence, beauty, and her liberal political ideas, which he actually shared with her. Marie Adelaide's relationship with her husband never improved, and she was left helpless when she realized that her children's governess, Madame de Genlis, influenced the children's minds and taught them about revolutionary ideas which their mother was totally against. The Duchess was horrified to find out that on the eve of the revolution, her 16-year-old son Louis-Philippe joined the Jacobin Club to the delight of his father. His father inherited the title of Duke of Orléans in 1785 and acquired political influence. Being at odds with his cousin Louis XVI, the Duke of Orléans transformed his home, the Palais Royal, into a revolutionary hub, rubbing shoulders with political activists. At 38, Marie Adelaide decided that she could not put up with her husband's behavior and lifestyle any longer, and she went to Normandy to stay at her father's chateau. Her father was a man deeply interested in helping less fortunate people, and his charitable actions did not pass unnoticed. His life was spared during the Revolution of 1789 for that precise reason. So, when the Duchess needed to get away from it all, it seemed that she would be shielded there, yet the worst was still to come. By that time, the revolution was sweeping across France, and Paris was in turmoil. Her husband's political views were by then openly against the king, and he decided to side with the revolution. Wanting to shake off his royal identity and announce his political beliefs, he changed his name to Philippe Egalite and became a sworn enemy of his cousin Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette. Things got so bad that he actually voted for the execution of the king. The couple's eldest son, Louis Philippe, was actively involved in the wars France was facing. When he acted somewhat against the political creed of the National Convention and was accused of treason for siding with the Austrians, that spelled trouble for his parents and siblings. Louis Philippe went into exile, and he would never see his father again. In January 1793, the news of the king's execution sent shockwaves through the royal circle of his relatives. Marie Adelaide's father was saddened when he heard about the death by execution of his cousin Louis XVI, especially given the involvement of his son-in-law. The Duchess was inconsolable. Every day that passed brought more bad news. 2 months later, she lost her father, the Duke of Penthievre, and Marie Adelaide was living in fear. In a few weeks' time, she would be arrested. The speed of the events that she was caught up in seemed overwhelming. The panic had set in. In April, her sons, Louis Charles and Louis Antoine, were arrested together with their father and imprisoned. Because his son Louis Philippe was accused of involvement in treasonous activities and acting against the revolutionary ideals, the Duke of Orléans also became a victim of the revolution and was guillotined in November 1793. He was 46 years old. After her arrest and with her wealth confiscated, Marie Adelaide was transferred to the newly set up prison at the Palais de Luxembourg. Alone and helpless, it seemed that she would have the same fate as a family. When nothing seemed to work in her favor, a few months after her imprisonment, she met Jacques, who would become her life companion and her savior. With his help, she was released from prison in 1794, and she was able to spend 3 more years in Paris before the French government banished her. The Duchess was forced to go into exile to Spain with her sister. Jacques would later follow them. Her sons, Louis Charles and Louis Antoine, remained imprisoned until August 1796, when the new regime decided to deport them to America. The 3 brothers were then reunited in America, and they decided to come back to Europe to see their mother. Their attempt was derailed, and they were unable to make it to Spain. Louis Charles and Louis Antoine would never see their mother again. Marie Adelaide's daughter, Adelaide, was able to leave France in 1792 with Madame de Genlis, and 4 years later she was able to join her mother in Spain. While in exile, the Duchess received terrible news. Her son, Louis-Antoine Philippe d'Orléans, died in 1807. The following year, she also lost her son, Louis Charles. He was only 28. Unbearable experiences for a mother to go through. By that time, she had only 2 children left. When her son, Louis Philippe, announced his mother that he would marry the niece of Marie Antoinette, Marie-Amélie de Bourbon, the Duchess travelled to Palermo to attend the wedding. She was joined by her daughter Adelaide. The family was at last reunited. When Louis XVIII regained the French royal throne in 1814, the Duchess was finally able to return to France 14 years after she had left the country. Eventually, she was able to claim back some of her confiscated properties and spend the remaining years of her life in France. In the final years of her life, the Duchess had one last battle to fight, an incurable disease. She lost her fight in 1821, dying at the age of 68. 9 years later, her son, Louis Philippe, became King of the French. One may say that Marie Adelaide was born into a life of privilege and wealth, but what's the use of that if life is constantly crushing one's soul? Her sorrows were evident, and her destiny was cruel to her.